All right, you can pick one plant-based character, and I'm gonna pick a plant-based character, and they're gonna fight to the death. Who do you pick?
Groot.
Groot? Pick Swamp Thing.
Damn. I was just like, there are none. What is he talking about? Just pick the obvious one. I don't know who would win.
I honestly would like to see that fight.
Yeah.
I think Swamp Thing controls a lot more. He's got the whole swamp at his disposal.
Okay, but are we in a swamp or are we in space?
I don't know.
On the
Let's
space
say we're
station.
in the California fires.
What?
It was just another stop on the ultimate pleasure trip until it became a deadly end. When a group of tight-knit college friends visits the site of an undisturbed Mayan ruin, they stumble into an ancient trap, an unspoken evil waiting to drag its victims to an endless nightmare of fear and horror. Experience one of the most shocking thrillers of the year with an ending so disturbing it will grab hold of you and never let go. All right, guys, here we're going to talk about the movie The Ruins. 2008's The Ruins. Lee had just seen it before.
No, but I think I've seen the box, maybe?
I'm actually very surprised you haven't seen this one.
I've walked by
this is
the
in
box.
the pocket.
Really? Well, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think I saw the box and I was like, I don't know. Whatever.
I think I saw this one theatrically. And like, I remembered the concept in general, but they're like, didn't remember the whole, plot and who goes where and what does what. But like, it's kind of a fun concept. I would say the execution is not as good as the idea. This is based on a book that I've not read, and I wonder if that's awesome.
Everything based on a book has a book that's better. I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I can't get into it without spoiling it, but I thought it was going to be one type of movie, and I was already like checking out and like gonna like go tidy up around the house or something while while watching it. But then it was not that, and it really sucked me in, and I really liked it.
Yeah, no, I give this one thumbs as well. I recommend it. I think it's good. It's everything The Happening is not.
Yes.
So if you hated The Happening, check out The Ruins. So if you've seen it or don't care, follow the spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, so here we are for the spoilers of The Ruins. So let me hear them spoiler-filled thoughts.
It's so good. I thought it was going to be one of those movies where it's like, oh, American, you want to come see something really cool? Oh, come with me. Oh, we run a sex traffic or some dumb thing like that, like a hostel or something. And I was like, oh, it sucks. What the fuck? Because I had not seen the box. I've not seen the trailer. So I didn't know like what I was getting myself into. So if you come at it blind like that, it's a wild ride. And it's a really good like fake out, in my opinion.
Sure.
Of that. Yeah.
No, I could see that. And I got like, the first time I watched it, I knew from the commercial.
Apparently, like the trailer has it's about killer plants, everybody.
Killer plants.
So apparently the trailer gives that away, which I think it sucks.
It is a mistake.
That's
yeah.
bad.
Well, I think the best part of like a good horror movie is something where like you would just be flipping through the channels and you would be like, what is this? I don't even know. And you get blindsided by something like, and I think this has that ability where it's not telegraphed ahead of time. Where you're like, oh, I know what's gonna happen.
Like up until the point where like the rope gives way. And he falls, and even after, I thought he'd be like, "I'm sorry, they have my brother. I had to lure you here," or something like like I just assumed, like that's what it's about. It can't be about killer plants.
That dude is a good actor.
Oh my God.
The guy that falls. What is his name? Like Michaeli, some like.
I know him as
German.
Russell from The Crazies.
Yes.
I'm gonna die here no matter what. So let it mean something. Let it mean that you two made it. Give me that.
And we did The Crazies, right?
We did.
Okay, good. We did The Crazies, and I was like, this guy is good, because I looked him up, and he's British, and I didn't detect like a note of overcorrections or like, and he's doing like a southern accent, which is sometimes cheating in The Crazies. Here, he's Matthias from Munich.
That's it.
Yeah. His name here. Yeah. Yes, not not the actor's name. He's Matthias from like Munich, and he's doing this whole other accent.
Where are you from? Munich. Originally.
And I did not recognize him until I looked up the people in it.
A while back, and like a week or two ago, somebody was talking about a movie where a guy calls someone a malaka, and I was like, what the fuck is malaka? I'm like, I'm sure it's derogatory.
Sounds racist.
But I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It is the Greek version of like you're a wanker.
Oh.
And I'm like, sounds better. It's classier.
There you go.
But it does sound like it's homophobic. Something
It
about
sounds
it.
like something.
Yeah.
Oh,
don't say it out loud. And it gets said in this movie, and it made me
I was
Google
gonna
it.
say, yeah.
And that's why I brought that up in the first place. But no, like, I like this movie. There's like a lot of moments where I'm like, like where I'm like, why is this happening? Stop it! Oh, that's not what you do. What are you doing?
So like part 2, this is like a gore movie.
Yeah.
It is like Hostel. It is like whatever those other movies I don't watch are, because I don't like horrors that are like gore, body, like, oh, you're stabbing, you're cutting, like, oh, stop cutting or whatever. But this is all that, but I still liked it a lot because of how it's framed and stuff.
It is the concept of this movie is wonderful for me. So like it is like a Mayan temple that like the local Mayans have surrounded with salt. They've salted the earth so these plants that are like contained in it can't get out. And I imagine, which we never get told anything about, that like that's what killed all the Mayans off. And like it was this plant, and they scorched earth and they got it back to this one thing and they surrounded it and whatever. Maybe it's a god or something to them. I don't know.
To the one temple where the aliens landed.
Yes.
And like did it. Yeah.
But that makes my mind run wild, and I love that. I'm like, oh, it's so cool. And like there's definitely something to it where like, no, they want the plant to kill these people because they could have just shot all of them. And like they're doomed to death and they could only potentially hurt others. Like she throws a vine and a boy dies.
Right.
So like their actions by letting them live is dangerous because they could escape at some point.
Yeah, like, but it's weird because he does the mercy kill at the end where I was like, all right, and the vine seems to prefer going after like dead things.
Yes.
It's very strange. I don't know, but I love that you don't really know, and like they use like a language barrier and being in a strange place and all this stuff. It's presented really well because it's just people shouting at each other.
Yes.
They don't understand each other, and they have guns and weapons. And and they're like, what do we do? And all the faces, all the acting is so good. I was like, it's such a great, like, fuck, what do we do? Oh, God.
It's a prime example of why I don't go anywhere I don't speak the language, because it's horrifying. And the Mayan people are so extra terrifying because of how, like, blasé they are about the whole thing. Like, oh, people are horrifying, screaming, it's like, just like goes back to like scratching her hand or
It's
whatever.
wonderful.
Like, just like not paying two shits about anything, just enjoying what's happening.
No, it feels like this is just like the, sorry, we have to do this. This is what it is. We're like used to
so
this.
matter of fact.
Yeah, and like, there's like 2 or 3 shots where there's some, like, in order to not show something super horrible, they cut to like the Mayans around the edge. Just doing something. And then like, just like screams in like the distance, and they're just nonchalant about it. It's very good. It's like a very nice touch.
So they said they had 3 sets for this movie. They had like, they built the whole exterior of that like pyramid thing. And that's like one. Then they like that base camp on the top is a second set that they built. And then there's the interior of the thing.
Yes.
And like in certain scenes, they composite it and make it so you can see all of it at once. But I love that. This movie had an $8 million budget, which I think like makes sense. Like, if you said it had more, I'd be like, okay. If you said it had less, I'd be like impressed. Because there's like a lot of CG stuff happening, like the plant movements alone.
No, this is like the, because it's not high enough to be the real mid-tier cinema.
Yeah.
But this is in that, where it's not low budget, but it has a budget. And it's a real movie. They're doing the movie things, right? So yeah, like I'm a super fan of it for that reason too.
Yeah.
And maybe it even restricted them a little and made them make like smarter choices that made stuff like creepier or something, where like you can't show it doing certain things, which I'm like, good, show less of that, show more of the aftermath.
I think the not showing the plants do a lot until like we're kind of really late game into it is obviously smart. And the plants only kill one person. Everybody
like
else,
real, right?
It only kills Matthias, and arguably he was going to die anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, everybody else dies on their own accord. Like, it's in that one chick, and
so
she's
good.
like trying to cut it out, and it's like probably affecting her brain because she's like gone mad. I assume a combination of blood loss and like creeping vines in your skull.
No, because as a American watching this, I'm like, oh damn, let them get help, because then like the dudes dressed like they're getting ET will come and they will solve the problem, guys. Like, stop it. And, what are you doing? But then then we get to see how horrible it is and how like not determined but like pervasive or like whatever.
It's an
like,
invasive species, Lee.
invasive, yeah. It's like so good at like doing this that you see why they had to kill that kid. Where they're just like,
Sure.
sorry,
Can't risk it.
There's no, we can't let this spread, at all. We're done, right?
You can see even just having walks with the the vines and the
Yeah.
ferns. There's like mold growing on their clothing. That
It's on our clothes. It's growing on us.
you can only assume, they're breathing in and is going to take over their bodies one way or the other.
They say that, yeah.
And that's
that,
creepy
like,
too.
It's growing on our clothes. It's it's doing this, and yeah, like the one chick gets it because it goes in through like the cut on her knee and everything.
It's inside my leg. Get it out! Get it out!
That she gets from like the rope's not long enough. So it's like the dude first falls because the rope wasn't checked and he just drops. And you're like, oh man, what a shitty situation.
Jeff? Jeff?
Yeah?
The rope, I think. Wait!
Because he drops and like he's like crippled. And then she goes down to help him. And like how far do you think that jump was? Because when they're like, can you jump? I'd be like, no!
Can you jump?
Can I what?
Yeah.
No, can I jump? I'm going down to help this guy. What is the point of me jumping? I can't get him back out if I'm on the ground. I just jumped 12 feet. I'm going to trap me in this fucking ruins? Even if I didn't know there was a killer plant, I'd be like, fuck you.
So like I watch these movies differently than most people, I think, where I'm like I loved that part of this movie.
Yeah.
All these decisions that people make where they're like, let's just do this. No, we can't do that. No, that'll take too long, or I'm scared, or no. And like everyone gets their turn to be like, no, don't do that. Just do this. And then it just makes everything worse and worse and worse. It's this great like study in like crisis management, almost, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's really good.
The most horrifying scene, I think, potentially, aside from like taking his legs,
yes,
it is them picking him up
and him folding in half.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Do you understand? Oh, it was so traumatic looking.
1, 2, 3. Oh my God!
So this is later. Now both the chicks are in the ruins, and they have to get Matthias back up. They build like a backboard thing where they're going to put him on there, but the rope is still not long enough. They still misjudged it. Probably because they thought, well, she couldn't have jumped more than 10 feet because she's an idiot, right? Whatever.
Well, and limited resources to build this anyway. I would have been afraid that it just wouldn't have held the weight, period, because you made rope out of tents?
Out of nylon or mylar or whatever it is. Yes, but so like and like they argue. They go, she's like, send it back up, and it's like, no, I don't want to, let's just do it, right? And like that impulse is very human and very flawed, and I was really into that.
We have to send it back up. No, Amy, I can't stay down here any longer. We can just lift him.
Where they were
and
like,
it may have been the smart move, because maybe the plant would have grabbed them and killed them had they stayed any longer. Because
we don't know.
the movie opens with a girl getting straight dragged by vines.
Yeah.
And later, even they themselves get attacked by vines. Like, it is not something that is an impossibility.
They don't know that, though.
No, exactly.
They're just like, this is dark and scary.
But sometimes you make a tiny decision, and you're like, oh, that saved my life. And you would never know. Think about how many times a day you do something that you're like, oh, could have died if I did something else.
Constantly while driving.
As a man who drives with you often, yes.
100%.
But no, like this plant is obviously supernatural in design. Like it has the ability to mimic voices. And phones and like all kinds of jazz.
So like I think they take it too far, but that beginning scene when they find the smashed phone and then they hear the phone ringing.
It's just ringing. Yeah, it's cracked.
In my head, I'm like, oh, so there's like another phone,
yes,
I guess.
Exactly.
Or whatever. And then they turn around and the flowers are vibrating, which CG is a little dodgy in certain parts. It's like a little goofy. But just that concept, like an anglerfish, like a predatory bird that like mimics the call of like its prey. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Because it's just playing back whatever it most recently heard.
Yes.
Because that's how it evolved, because that's how it works. You hear the missing girl's voice and you go, oh, she's over there. Oh, and then it grabs you too. It's so good. I'm like, oh man.
It works like in my head it works better than I think in actuality.
Yes.
So like yes, it's like the Yeti or not the Yeti. What is the there's some Yeti-ish animal that can mimic your voice and
Chupacabra?
No, it's not
A
important.
fake animal or a real animal?
A Wendigo.
Okay, there you go.
Fake animal.
Good.
Real animal.
Just making sure. I'm sorry. No. Obviously, a real animal.
But no, I like that in concept. It's like, yes, they can mimic you and thing, but when you see it, it kind of is like lull-worthy, where I'm
It's
like,
fun, yeah.
Like the phone thing was one. I almost don't like that it was his actual ringtone. If it was just like a noise that like, because noise attracts things. So like any noise potentially attracts things. So maybe if it just sounded like a ringtone, it might have been a little better.
So like it like vibrating, right? Because sounds are just vibrations.
Yes.
So like the plant could have felt the vibrations of that unique kind of zzz, that pitch. Later it's like playing back like words or something.
That's
it's
where
like,
it gets really fucking
wait a minute,
cornballish.
that's too much.
And I wasn't clear exactly because she had like a brain parasite at the time, so I
Yes.
wasn't sure. Did she actually hear the plant making sex sounds?
Amy, come here. Come here.
Or did she just think because her brain's fucked up?
The plant is echoing Amy like sobbing outside and like crying.
And she thinks it's
and
sex.
that's adding up to like, and she's waking up with a brain parasite.
Yeah,
of plants.
exactly.
So like that combination.
Because
made me
it
think,
never read as sex sounds to me,
No.
so I was like,
Well,
What?
that's partially because the audience can see her out there like, oh, I can't, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, but then that's getting like
Yeah,
doubled
yeah.
and tripled and played throughout the vines around the back of the tent.
Eric. What the fuck?
What?
I heard you.
It's good, but
where
yes,
was
it's funny.
the other boyfriend during all that though? Because
I
like
don't know.
he just like pops up like he was off for a stroll. Like, what's
Yeah.
happening here?
What's going on?
My boyfriend is fucking your girlfriend. That's what's going on.
Crazy and irrational.
Yeah, your girlfriend's fucking my boyfriend. I'm like, where was he? How could you think anything could happen? You're on like a
Did they-
8 foot
yeah.
by 10 foot like flat plank.
Did they
Matthias
show-
is dying over there. Like,
I think they showed him down by the base of it or something, but it's weird because everyone's
Yeah.
very close together. Yeah, it's a whole
it
thing.
would be very fucking daring
Yes.
if they were to try something.
Yeah, but I like. Okay, so we've danced around it, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
The most rational human being on the planet, pre-meds to the point of being a sociopath.
If he dies here, infection.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this character.
I
'Cause
liked
he's
all
like,
the characters,
"We gotta do
honestly.
this." Yeah.
And they're all good people that you recognize from things. You're like, oh, okay, this is a good. Oh, Iceman. Oh, he's stabbed. Like,
I was about to. I always want to make this joke where I'm like, yeah, Sean Ashmore, of course. I forget if he's Merry or Pippin, but he's one of them, right? Because that's where everyone. No, like him, Ryder Strong, that Wyatt something guy. They're all the same actor to me. It's all the same thing. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are, or whatever. But he has these enchanting blue eyes. So
I was
like,
gonna
it's
say
Iceman.
inhumanly blue
Yes.
because he's an X-Man.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. No, but
he was
I
good
thought the
too.
dynamic of all of them was good.
he
The girl
was-
from Saved.
Yeah, like people are sarcastic, people are concerned, and they do all the normal people things in like a really believable way. Sometimes horror movies introduce characters, and then once the shit hits the fan, they assign everybody like a role.
Yeah.
Well, you're the one that tells them to ration water for no reason. You're the one who says we need to wait. You're the one who says we have to get help. And everyone just gets a thing, and then they just are like one-dimensional, right? But everybody, like, they're debating. They don't know what to do. These things keep coming up. The doctor keeps saying we have to do this. They're like, this is not okay. We can't do this. It's this whole arguing. It's so
But by
good.
and large, their friendship did not collapse.
Yes.
And that's what always annoys me in things when I'm like, you can't display people to be lifelong friends since they were in 3rd grade, and the moment any trouble happens, they completely fall apart. Like, here you have the dickish joking of, like, when he's alluding to her cheating and stuff. I'm like, no, friends do, we shit on each other. We do things like that.
And she even says, do not mention this.
Yeah.
I swear. And then he needles it in.
Not before she stuck her tongue down some guy's throat.
How much further is it?
Exactly.
She knows he's like that. Yeah.
But they all still had each other's back, and they were going through the thing, and I was like, okay. And like, yes, while I might not want to cut someone's legs off, and you do, they still had a vote. And
No, but-
him saying cut my legs off, I was like, damn, this guy knows it's fucking.
Do it. Cut some off. Cut some off.
Because I'm like, at what point would I be like, because I'm a person. I like having legs.
You like legs?
I enjoy them.
I know that's not true.
I also enjoy living, and I would much prefer to live without legs than to not live at all. But at a certain point, I'm like, we're like in the jungle. We're surrounded by people that we might die anyway. You're gonna break my legs with a rock and then burn them after you cut them with a knife. Yeah, you might want to stab me in the head. Like,
Well, he's paralyzed. They say so. Like, there's some. Oh, it's so good because I don't even know, right? We don't even know. It seemed like he felt it, but like, yes.
And he made
Clearly.
an explanation of like, oh no, just and yes, seeing that I would probably be freaking out, and yes. But there's also different degrees of like, just because you can't feel your feet does not mean you can't feel anything along the way here.
Well, and just because you can't move them doesn't mean you can't feel. And then like the way the nerves are damaged,
Exactly.
You might not be able to move, but you might be able to feel like the bones or oh god.
Yeah.
And it's so terrifying. You see like him like pulling chunks out of the stump and stuff. It's hardcore.
Just that whole cut it with a knife, like cut off my legs with a knife.
I mean, the legs have been eaten by the vines at that point.
They
so
have
it's
been
kind of like-
severely. You're like, what are these vines doing?
Show me my legs.
Okay.
Show me them.
Okay.
Like you almost expect there to be some sort of an acid that comes out of them,
Yeah.
or like, are there teeth? Like, what's doing this?
It seems like they are digesting something.
In some way.
Because the corpses look all weird down there. But corpses can look weird, so who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah.
But like the corpse they came across, the girl, presumably the same girl from the beginning, didn't look exactly the same, but she was like mummified or whatever. She wasn't down to the bone,
Yeah.
and she'd been there for how long? But this dude's alive, and you've ripped his legs clean off. So that's weird. And then they actually kill. So he's the only one they kill. They like force feed themselves down his
vines go
throat
in.
at a dramatic speed.
Yes.
And I guess choked him, or did they go deep enough? There's like heart, like you're dead. I don't know. I don't want to know.
No, it's terrifying. Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I liked the plan to escape. I thought worked.
At the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
But even Iceman's plan of like, all right, at dark, I'm gonna just run. Because yes, we're only gonna get weaker.
Yeah.
You got to do something. And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think that would be my thing. I'd be like, yes, run.
Yeah. So our boy has a plan. He's gonna pretend Amy's already dead, lay her
Yeah.
down, and then start making a speech while casually walking
pretty good
away.
plan.
It's really good.
It is.
And his speech even worked in, just in case anyone actually does speak English. He
Yeah.
had a real speech prepared. It's
Yeah.
very very good of him. And then gets to the point where he screams her name, and that's her signal to get up and run away. Right.
I do think it's weird that like he definitely died on purpose there.
Yes.
Like he could have slowly backed his way back up to the thing
Okay.
and kept screaming to try to draw their attention more.
There's a little camera work here and there. So way in the beginning, they kind of give away that it's the vines because they hang on like Amy standing on the vines like a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that. Here too, later on, he gets cut on the hand.
Yes.
With the same knife that Stacy was
So you think
mutilating
he
herself
knows
with.
he's going to die.
He has a look on his face like this, like when he's holding his hand. He's like, I think he's realized, but throughout the whole thing, he's such like a MacGyver, like logical dude that he's just like, nope, Amy, don't worry, it's gonna be like this, it's fine, no, and he just lies to her to like save her life.
sure.
He's just like, here's the plan.
I would
it's
have
gonna be
written
fine."
myself off at this point
Yes.
of you're going to die anyway, too.
Yeah.
But my thought is that I would try to get as many seconds out of it as possible, as many seconds as I could to keep her alive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if once I get to modern doctors, if they could just like, chemotherapy this shit away.
think
I'd probably
yeah.
still just try to stay alive on that tower for as long as
Yeah.
I can. Her running away, I can't even imagine running barefoot through the jungle.
Well,
And I guess you'd never run faster than when you're being chased by Mayans with guns and bows and arrows.
true.
But
So I like the ending. I did so like I went back to watch because it just ends on she gets away. She gets away, guys.
so
I went back to double check. Are there vines on her, like under her skin, or some reason to believe? Because in all these movies, there's this huge thing where like you root for the good people.
Yeah.
And oh please get away from the government or from the whatever's or
the downfall of society.
Yeah, because and that's good. Those are complex feelings to give your audience. I want them to get away, but they're clearly infected with something that could destroy humanity if it got out. Right? It's like so pernicious something. There's a word. Right? But I would have liked the the ending to confirm for us that she's infected, so it's like a double-edged sword. Instead, they play the loop game where the Greek guys show up and to the same temple, which is supposed to make you think, oh, they did all that, but all they had to do was wait. And it's like, no, they didn't. There were like 50 people there who would have just killed them too. That's not like a stinger. The stinger is Amy's like doing this, and there's a little leaf coming out of her arm. Oh, you are infected.
I saw this theatrically, and I remember vines on her face.
There's alternate endings. And one of them is exactly the same as what's on the DVD for the main thing, except like behind her eyes or by her face or something.
Yeah, I remember like something.
Vine.
I remember like what you saw in the girl, which honestly you didn't see when I think they saw it in the movie. Because when they looked at her, they're all like horrified, and I'm like, I don't see what you're seeing like on her face.
It's like a huge bumpy thing.
Well, but you expect like her eyes to have tentacles or something like to be horrified. Like they can't even lock eyes.
Well,
with her.
like, you now have a death sentence, and we can't.
I would have already assumed she was gonna die.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's confirmed now. They're like, uh-oh, because the whole time, like, baby, you're just being cray-cray, just chill. And now it's like, oh no. She's not only is she doomed, she's right. She's like, I can feel it inside of me this whole time. And they're like, okay, she's obviously gone crazy.
Wait for paranoia to be real.
Yeah, like lay down. Because if they confirm, like, okay, maybe it is inside you, she's gonna go crazy. So they have to like, I don't know what to say to you, and I love it so much.
Should have just killed her.
You saw it, didn't you? It was so in my head. I felt it.
The blonde girl like sells it like so hard. Her like oh no, I'm in pain, I'm dying, crying, whatever the situation sucks, and like snot's hanging down from her fucking nose. And I always love that because a lot of actors, there's too much vanity. Where like it's like, oh, I don't want to look too realistic and bad, but when someone really goes for it, I'm like, oh, the like just so shitty. I'm like, yes, acting.
No, even Shawn Ashmore gets really dirty. Like everyone gets very dirty and weird. Like gross in this. It's really good. There's a great shot with Stacy where it's right after she stabs Shawn Ashmore, and like Jeff goes over to him, the doctor guy goes over to him, and then like Amy's kind of holding Stacy, and it's right in the foreground. It's like kind of subtle. She like bends her torso over, and you can see the like wound on her upper thigh there, and there's like a vine going through it. It's like, oh god. But like your attention is probably on the background of like, oh no, he was stabbed, is he okay, right? But right in the foreground they still add this little like again, she's right, she's like, I just have to get this last one out. Like,
It's okay. It's okay. I just have to get this one out. Okay.
oh, again, she's like cutting herself. It's so crazy. It's great.
The movie's great. It has a lot of like elements here that I think would make for a wonderful sequel. I would love for her to have been infected. She does escape, and now it's like 10 years later, and we're like, it's like a zombie apocalypse type thing, but like we're almost all dead from these fucking plants, and it's the last people in like wilderness areas or like the ice or something.
I think one of the alternate endings is apparently she lives her entire life or just dies or something, and it's like in a cemetery with a dude whistling, and then like there's plants.
The plant makes the whistle.
There's plants by her grave that like, so it says like Amy whatever this year that year, and this like cemetery grave digger guy walks by, and then the plants are there doing their thing or whatever.
That's good.
Which I don't know the setup for that. I feel like they cut that because it's like, okay, it's like too much. It's too much extra movie or something. I don't know how they do that. But
it filmed her whole life.
I was gonna say it's like
her grandkids.
Yeah, it's a 14-hour alternate ending.
Maybe it was just like the beginning of Up, where like it did a whole lifetime
montage where she's just because maybe she's fine because she didn't get it into her blood, but maybe it's like dormantly lying there, and then when she dies and she returns to the earth, the plant begins to grow. Right? Oh my God.
There's like I said, there's so much potential for this franchise. That's never gonna happen seemingly, but I do enjoy it.
I'm holding out hope.
Again, do it in real time. I'd be totally down. Yeah, fuck off. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Why won't you fucking help us?
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition.